Welcome to Millennial Money Minute. I'm your host, Chen. Thank you for tuning in to our financial wellness show where we get you financially fit 1 minute at a time. And this is not just for millennials, it is for everybody. And I have a great guest today. Her name is Mallie Messri, and she's been in real estate for 5 years, and she helps millennials invest in real estate. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Caitlin. Thank you very much.
Great. Now, talk about real estate. You know, a lot of millennials now, they don't invest in real estate anymore. I think it's because of the high cost in real estate, and they're just doing other stuff. Of course, they like to, meddle in businesses.
Yeah.
What suggestions do you have for millennials?
Yeah, definitely. Millennials' focus is absolutely not buying a home or buying property. Right. I think for millennials, the bigger focus is experience-based, where they want to spend their money is on experiences more so than actually saving for the future.
Right.
Millennials are concerned about their future. They are definitely want to purchase, but not at the same age that their parents purchased homes. My parents bought their first home in the early 20s, and a lot of our parents did. But for now, a lot of us are focusing on the bigger items, which seem to be career is a really big key focus for millennials, career and their future, and how they're going to be successful and measure up in comparison to a lot of their other friends and their parents and the people that came before them, making sure that they have a solid foundation for themselves. And then, once they're settled, that's when they start to think about, hey, it's time for me to start saving to purchase a home. So a lot of us are not focusing, and with a crazy influx of prices all across the nation, it's just not as feasible as it once was.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, millennials, they're probably not as concerned about buying their first home to actually live in. Yeah. There's a lot of investment groups, I heard. Mm-hmm. Do you suggest millennials get in and maybe with an investment group with 5, 6 other people so they can pool their money to buy investment properties? Do you suggest that?
Yeah, I'll say a couple things on that because I do know a lot of those groups since I've been in the investment world for 5 or so years. Right. With those, you want to be really careful because a lot of those groups are pulling people, since all of the HGTV shows and the Flip This House and Flipping Brothers, that made real estate look really sexy and really easy. So what came on after that were these pools of investment groups where you could put your money in and you could flip a house that easily. You never had to see the property. You never had to touch a contract. Oh. You just put your money into this pool. Right. And there's essentially it's a syndication, and there are other investors that you never meet or you never make a connection with, and you all put your money and someone goes out there, buys a property, invests in it, and then goes and does the flip themselves, and you get a profit 3 to 6 months down the road. Here was what I would say. As a millennial, I think that it's really important to focus on thinking about investing in real estate. Growing up in real estate my entire life, I realized that it can really create a future for you, a foundational future, and can set you up for success. So if an investor pool is one of the ways to get started, then I would say do it. Okay. But I would say make sure that you do your research and your due diligence, and that that company that you're investing with has a proven track record. And personally, just working with investors, I would personally want to be able to call someone and find out who had invested and got their return. Because in the real estate,
so you want to know if you trust the people that you're dealing with.
Yeah, it's like, how would you trust a doctor? You'd probably ask a couple of people who had seen that doctor and said, hey, how did you like that doctor? Or, if you were going to a plastic surgeon, you would ask your friends, which one do you recommend? Or if you're looking for a realtor. So it's the same thing with a company. I would recommend that you get, at least a couple of handful word of mouth referrals from people who have personally invested in those companies. Right. But what I do want to just really touch on that, Caitlin, before I go on, is that yes, you should start to think about real estate as a millennial. You should absolutely start to think about investing in real estate, whether it be through, flipping properties, or it be through Airbnb, or it be through a completely different avenue. Real estate is definitely something that you can hone on to create yourself wealth for the future.
Exactly. You don't have to do it full time. You can have your regular job or any of the side hustles. Speaking of side hustles, I know millennials love side hustles.
Yes.
Why is that? How did you grow up to like side? I mean, do you side hustle yourself?
I'm more of the approach of where I like to focus on one thing and put my all into one thing, and that's just the way I was raised.
Okay.
But for a lot of people, that doesn't work. I'm fortunate enough to have a career where I can give it my all. But for a long time, it wasn't like that. A long time, it was trying to find out what I was good at or what I was passionate about. So side hustles come in hand. When you're trying to figure yourself out and you're a millennial and you're trying to figure out, should I go to college? Should I go to school? Should I be a doctor? Should I be an entrepreneur? All of these things, a side hustle allows you, or a gig, or what they call, contract-based jobs or gigs or side hustles. Those allow you to have the creative freedom to dive into, yourself, find out what you want, find out what you're interested in, while at the same time you're earning income from doing something, 15 to 20 hours per week or whatever. It's up to you. There's that flexibility. And I think that's what millennials really like, is the ability to have that much flexibility. You can turn on your app, you can go deliver some groceries for 3 hours, make $45 versus going into a job, having to be there at 9 o'clock, clocking in, clocking out, saving, making sure that they're not late so they can save up vacation time to go travel and have these experiences, working for a boss that you don't like, trying to work your way up in this corporate structure where a lot of it is biased. So for millennials, side hustles allow you the freedom to do what you want. And I have had some in the past. I did Rover, which is watching dogs. So, Rover is an app where you can...
Watching dogs or walking dogs?
Watching and walking.
Oh, watching like on an app?
Yeah. No, well, watching them in your home.
In your home. Okay.
So, I love dogs, and look, I could make, easily $300 to $400 a month watching dogs on the side, and it's doing something I love while I'm focusing on something else. And so for people in school, it allows them to work part-time, maybe in the evenings, maybe do Uber, maybe do some online work, whatever that side hustle it is, but it allows them to focus on the bigger picture and not have to commit fully to either being a school or a job, and still allowing them that freedom to express themselves and to, learn other things while they're trying to figure it out. Yeah,
exactly. When I'm at work 9 to 5 and I need to do something, but the other places are open 9 to 5, well, guess what? I have to take a vacation day to get it done. But if you have a side hustle, you're working in midnight, it's okay. You can get whatever done.
Totally.
And for those viewers out there, Rover, sounds like a great great way
dogs.
to if you like dogs. Yes. Now, you mentioned about the experience. I've noticed, millennials love their experience.
Yes.
They don't really like buying extravagant jewelry anymore. They rather spend that $3,000, $4,000 on a vacation. But what would you do first if you had $3,000? Would you save part of it, or would you save all of it, or would you rather take that vacation first?
So personally, in real estate, you tend to make bigger commissions at certain periods of time. So if I were to make $3,000 off of a side hustle, whatever, right? The way that I kind of have saved or have lived my life is, money comes and goes, right? Money flows and it comes through. So I wouldn't say, hold on to it and be so, greedy or whatever you want. If you want to go on a vacation, go ahead. So I wouldn't say be ornery and, not spend your money and save it to it, but there's got to be some balance, right? And personally, I would most likely at least save 70%. Just because, and this is, and I think this is very much a millennial thing, right? Saving for the future or saving for a potential something. And I think we all do that a lot. A lot of millennials would rather enjoy their money now while they're young, because they really, a lot of us don't have much care for the future, or there's less, promise of the future. And so we rather just spend it on what we can see right now, because we like instant gratification. But if that's a question directed to me, I personally would save my money, because, I was raised with the mentality, it's, look, you while you're young, this is your best years. Work your heart out, right? Really give it your all. And that goes along with why I'm in real estate. It's a part of the saving mentality, and not necessarily saving for some time in the future and then everything will work out, but more so making sure that I'm set up for the future. So when I am 45, I don't have to go find a job at, Walmart or Costco or McDonald's or whatnot, or I don't have to go work for someone else. I have all of that money that I maybe didn't get to enjoy the most while I was young, but now I have a future where I can really provide for myself and others, and I don't have to depend on someone and wait for a pension or IRA. So that's
a great way of thinking about it, is just save now, because expenses will go up, inflation, things like that.
Yeah.
Now I know you're self-employed as a real estate agent.
Yep.
Now, the thing is, when you work for corporate, you may get medical insurance, you may get 401k. Do you miss that? Would you ever give up your real estate to go back into corporate for those benefits?
Absolutely not.
No. Okay.
No.
Why?
It's a really great question, and here's the thing. So all of that, as we all know, is becoming a very, very, very thin promise. Okay, that's every year after year. The pension or the 401k is becoming less and less. Less and less jobs are actually even offering it. So I have a lot of friends that are, fresh out of college and are looking for a job, and a lot of these jobs that require you to be in a 4-year degree are not even providing. They may be providing insurance, but they're not even providing a 401k or an exit strategy for you. So if you think about it, you go to 4, 5, 6, 7, however many years you go into college to work up to get this position, and they're not even insuring you or protecting you. So for me, at some points in my career, I did miss it, but when you have everything that you do have being self-employed, and it's not easy, and I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm not saying working for corporate is better than being self-employed. It's to each their own. But the benefits that I have from being on my own, and the flexibility and the leverage and the potential and the ability to create whatever I want with my business way outweighs having someone pay for my health insurance.
That's true. You can buy your own insurance.
Yeah.
It may cost a little bit more, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I would love the flexibility of just working at any time. Now, speaking of college, you mentioned about college. A lot of millennials now just don't feel like going to college because they say, well, after I graduate from college, I have all these debts, and now I have to work and try to pay it off. Maybe I'll pay it off in 5 years, maybe in 10 years.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone, that's 18, that's thinking about not going to college? What do you tell them from your perspective?
Okay, from my perspective, good, because we grew up totally different. My parents said to me when we were kids, they said, look, if you're not going to go to college, then you have to work. And for us, it was always about providing for yourself. And so if my younger cousin came to me at 18 years old, which I do have a lot of cousins that are now just going into college. I have one really close cousin who's 22, and she just spent 4 years in college. Now just graduated from UCLA, now going to go spend another 4 years in college. I would say, unless that you are 100% clear that you are going to college for a purpose, and that there is a career that you are 100% clear you're going to get after you finish, then I would absolutely go to college. Otherwise, when you don't go in and you're not clear, I think that there's a lot of room to sway. I think there's a lot of room to drift. For example, my girlfriend, really, really wonderful girl. She spent, from 18 to 23, she was in college, and she was going after one major. She was studying kinesiology. Midway, she shifted her major. She had to do a whole another 4 years of schooling to get that degree. Wow. So by the time she gets actually licensed, she'll be in her 30s. So she's 4 years behind. So if you are clear on what you want to achieve out of the degree and what you want to achieve out of going to college, and you have a game plan, then yes, go. And make sure that you are consistent, you're solid, and you are going there for one purpose. You're not going to party, you're not going to make friends, you're going to get your degree, get out, and go live your, do your dream career. Otherwise, if you're confused and you're just trying to figure it out, I may say take some time before you just jump into college, because with all the commotion that's going on, with all the influence, you can lose touch of what you're really looking for.
A lot of time.
Yeah, you can lose a ton of time, and then you're influenced, you're around other people, everyone else is going to college, and you start to lose sight of what you really were looking for, and it may not have been college, it may have been a completely different path. So I would say take your time. Yeah.
Take your time. And sometimes parents influence you.
Oh yeah.
When I was in high school, of course, my mom wanted me to, go to college, then go to grad school, get a PhD or something.
The whole nine. Yeah.
And I am so glad that millennials now are more open.
Yeah.
Now, are your parents open? If you told your parents you don't want to go to college, what would they say?
So I didn't go to college. And I did tell. Yeah. And
you told them.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I love
I'm a living, and that's why I'm saying my background is very different. Like I'm literally a living testimony. From high school. Yeah. From 15 years old, I was working. We worked with my parents. At 18, I was earning, and this is 18, which is 7-8 years ago, I was earning, $3,500 as an 18-year-old. That was a lot, I was making almost $4,000 a month. I was independent, and, and when I had that discussion with my parents, I said, look, there's nothing in school that I can see that I'm going to go in there and get something out of it. And there's nothing I'm going in there. There's no career that I want necessarily. And they said, if you don't go to school, then you have to find yourself a path that you can commit to for the next 5 to 10 years. And that was real estate. And that's what, and I got licensed at 19 years old.
At 19, you started in real estate at 19.
Yeah,
wonderful.
And my brother dropped out of nursing school. He was 2 years into nursing school. As a millennial, 27 years old, when he dropped out, my parents were very, very disappointed because he already had his career on path. But they told him the same thing. Look, as long as you stay focused, you don't drift, you latch onto one thing and you give it your all. You focus on it, like that's the only thing that matters. That will grow. That will excel, but don't go from here to here to job to job to job. And that was the thing. And so for millennials or parents who have millennials who are not wanting to go to college, if that's not their route, fine, but help them create another plan in place that they can stay on track.
Right, and as long as you're happy, because a lot of times you either listen to your parents or you listen to society, you do something, you get out. I have known so many attorneys who actually, at the age of 35, decided this wasn't for them and completely changed careers.
Yes.
So that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Now, Molly, I know you like to invest in real estate. You love real estate.
Yep.
What other things do you suggest millennials invest in? I had another guest on my show. He invests in Bitcoin. And cryptocurrency. What do you like to invest in? Gold, diamonds? I don't know.
So my main forte has been real estate. I think that there are a lot of I think that a lot of the new apps are really great. Like if you can, invest in certain stocks and, very small investments, I think for millennials is a good start. For instance, I know my brother has an Acorns application on his phone.
Oh, I've heard about that.
Yeah. And I know they make small investments for you. And so the change that, and I may be saying this completely wrong, so please check, but the change that rolls over, so if you spend $1.73, that other 17 cents goes into your Acorns account, and then I think they invest that money and start investing and you build up. So over the course of 6 months, my brother had earned a total of $5,000 on an app.
Oh, wow, on an app. And it gets invested into a stocks?
You can actually invest into an actual stock, and I think they have shares.
Or mutual funds.
But, so that's what I've heard. I'm not 100% sure on it, but that's what I heard is really popular. That's a good way to kind of get your feet wet and not really throw a ton of money in there. Another really great way to start getting into real estate investing, I think, is to, if the city allows it, is to lease apartments, and you can sublease your apartment and you can start having Airbnb rentals. And I think that if you focused on smaller investments, like another good investment would be maybe an ATM. But if you focused on...
Okay, like ATM. A actual ATM?
Yes. Absolutely. So that's a new thing that's come out. Well, obviously it's not new, but it's now starting to gain popularity. You can purchase an ATM and find a location and have that sit and gain money for you. And so my idea would be, if you were thinking of investing and you're thinking of long-term, I personally would look into something that's going to give you residual income that initially is going to have a small risk.
Okay.
And possibly a smaller return, but something that you can build over time. So
Exactly.
so now when you have $50,000, 2 or 3 years later, now you can go and invest in something much bigger. You have much more experience. You've built the maturity and the responsibility. And I think that's really important for millennials. I wouldn't throw your money at the first thing that shows up on YouTube and says invest here.
Right.
So just
Who knows? There's a lot of scams out there.
There's a ton. Yeah. So I would again, focus long term. That's what I would say.
Long term.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And great idea about the acorns. Yes, I heard about
Yeah.
it. Because if you don't see it, you don't miss it.
Yes.
You purchase something for $1.75, 25 cents goes into investments, and you don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, social media. I know millennials, I didn't grow up with social media.
Okay, you're lucky.
Millennials are growing up with all this social media.
Yeah.
And they're constantly on their phone. They don't have this face-to-face interaction anymore. I mean, are you always on social media? Or do you prefer 50-50?
I had to delete my Instagram and my Facebook and my Snapchat. I really noticed a lower quality of life. And I mean that with all sincerity, Caitlin. I really, really noticed that it was draining my happiness. And that could not... And look, it could be just for me, and it's probably not, but I'm willing to bet that at least 80% of us feel that way. And every time I went on Facebook, I saw something that looked really good, and I got jealous, and I got sad, and I got upset, and it's not something that you are trying to do on purpose. And it actually took me almost a year to realize that I was doing that. It's a very subconscious, subtle thought. It's a comparison that you compare yourself when you're looking online.
It's kind of like keeping up with the Joneses,
Exactly.
right?
Well, now we're keeping up with the Kardashians.
Oh.
And I don't even want to get started on that topic, and how we idol worship these people that we see online. And so I've had to really disconnect from social media, because I think there's multiple things that it does. Number one, just the constant opening up the phone and opening up the application.
Yes.
It gives you a release, of these, I'm not going to say it right, but these morphins or whatever, this release of energy. And it's like the same feeling as when you really like someone or when you're in love. It releases this feeling, and it's like a hit. It's like taking a hit from a drug. And so every time you open up this app, and you're getting like a hit of the drug. So psychologically, I don't think it's healthy to be on your phone and to be on social media that often.
Exactly.
Personally, I don't. I watch my friends, and we're sitting at a dinner table, and every 5 seconds she has to check her phone. That's not healthy. I think you should be able to engage with someone, right?
Right. One-on-one engagement is good.
Yeah. And the other thing with it, as far as how we feel about social media, I think it's allowed us to see a whole new side of the world that we were not able to see. And so it's created this beautiful ensemble of all these wonderful experiences and good-looking people and beautiful places, and that's all we see. And we didn't see that before. And now we're awoken to this new world, and all we can think about is, why don't we have that? And where is that? And how is that possible? Or how is that real? And I say, look, social media is wonderful if you learn to utilize it for the right reasons. Maybe if you're using it for your business, if you're using it for connections, but there has got to be a balance. And if you notice yourself going on your phone or checking your Instagram every 5 to 10 minutes, then you've got a real problem. And you have to check in with yourself, and if you're addicted to your social media, if you are. So I would say that social media is wonderful, but there should absolutely be a balance, and you should have a conversation with yourself inside. Test where you are. You'll know if you're over binging, and you'll know if you're not. I deleted all of my apps, and I feel so much better. I promise.
Because you live your own life rather than living the life of somebody else's.
Yeah.
And sometimes when maybe a friend or a non-friend, they post something, and it could be lost in translation.
Totally.
And you want to have that one-on-one conversation. Instead of somebody saying something to you, you get offended, but it's really, they meant something else that could have been better said verbally. Yeah,
we're all hiding behind a screen, And one thing I also really want to mention is that there's a lot of work that goes into making those photos look good. And
it's kind of like photoshopping, right?
Well, photoshopping, and when you get the photo of them eating the cake, it's like, do you know how many times they have to sit there with the food in their mouth like this, with just their jaw open,
Okay,
so it's
that sounds kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, right? It's not as good. It's not greener on the other side. But you're absolutely right. We lose the human connection, and it takes up a lot of space in our mind. I think
Absolutely.
what we see, what we visually see, all these images, I think it takes up a lot of space, and when we're with other people, it takes up that space. So instead of, I think that it's great, but there should be a balance.
Yes.
Yeah.
And speaking of taking up space, as a self-employed young woman, millennial, how do you stay productive? I know you said keep your limits of social media.
Yeah.
Like, what is your day like?
Yeah.
How do you keep yourself focused? And stay productive so you can produce at your your business?
It is super hard. I will be very, very honest. It's really hard, I think, as a millennial to stay focused because of the way we kind of grew up in the environment, and we constantly grew up with these images, and so just naturally over the years we're kind of like a squirrel, like what's there, and you just become that way over time. We kind of all have like ADHD within us, especially if you grew up in California. So what I do to remain focused is accountability is really, really important. Ideally, I would like to have an accountability coach 365 days of the year, but I have a business partner, and we keep each other accountable. And what I do every single week is set goals for the week and set an intention for the week. And there's just really no other, and I really don't understand how anyone gets anywhere without setting goals and intentions and, before you go and embark on something. So every week, every Friday, before we leave the office, we set up our intention for the week, our goal, and our schedule. Okay. So literally, I have a whole schedule for next week. I have everything set up. So we do we do a lot of calling. So I have my calls set up to go at 10 a.m. Okay. So if I'm in the office or not, it's already going. Okay. So that helps me. I set things up in my environment and in my workplace to help me succeed and help me push me towards success. It's nowhere near perfect. Okay. It's a continuous process, every time. I would say about every 2 or 3 months like life is a dip. Yes. And so every 2 or 3 months we dip, and then we reanalyze and we say, where are we? What are we not doing? Where are we losing focus? Right. And then that way you can adjust. Well, great suggestions, Molly. Thank you so much. And you are certainly a very successful woman. Thank you so much for being on my show. Thank you for having me. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for being on Millennial Money Minute, and we'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.